a pubcast for a show I did not expect to be doing. I didn't want to be doing, but here we are, a bit of an emergency pod. I just sort of need to vent my frustration. And look, everyone who knows me, I'm not one to sort of rant and rave. And when we had the loss against Brighton, I was, okay, it's disappointing, but it is what it is. When we lose 4-0 at Brentford, I was thinking, okay, that's tough to deal with, but I'll live. Here we are, I was on the train home from work and I see that James Garner has been transfer listed, and that is the bit of news that got me. Not the 2 defeats, not the poor performances, the decision. Not so much, we'll get into the ins and outs of James Garner's career and likeliness of what he wants to achieve in the game, if that is to be away from United, but the news that Manchester United are willing to accept a bid of around £15 million, or that's their valuation of him, that is the news to me that has really pissed me off this week. None of the other dramas around the Manchester United world. We've got Adam joining us back on the podcast. Adam, first of all, how's things? But also talk to me about your feelings around the current news.
I think it's shocking. He's a United junior, been at the club since he was 7, and looks like he's not even going to get a proper chance to prove himself. When we have had midfielders at the club who've had a chance for 3 to 5 years and haven't taken it, and now we're going to let him go. And I think he could solve a little bit of our issues we have in our midfield, but yeah, it's not good news you want to hear.
Well, I'll just say good day to some guys in the live chat, and I think this will be fairly, look, maybe not as emotional for many people as compared to the disappointing defeats we've had, but I think it is an emotive subject. So I'd love to get everyone's thoughts in the live chat. So if you are watching, throw your thoughts in the live chat. We'll discuss them. It'll be a bit of a quick show tonight, but any topics you want to discuss, throw it in the live chat. And we'll get cracking with it. But George, good to see you. Make it evening, guys. Terrible call. Just adds fuel to the fire that certain players have a divine right to play, and the club will do anything to force to that happen. Definitely shades of that. Definitely agree with that. Chris here, good to see you, mate. Who made the decision, the board or Eric Ten Hag? I think we'll get into that discussion. There's a little bit of news around that. How reliable? Who knows? Vin, is this even for real? Unfortunately, it has come from The Athletic, which will be my next point in regards to what the news actually is, rather than us just sort of ranting and raving over a rumour. But George here, evening, fellas. This just proves that the club is looking for names that sell shirts and having squad depth and being able to produce their own players. Interesting take on it, and I wouldn't disagree. Definitely an interesting take on it. Rob, good to see you, mate. As always, Elliot and Mike Legends, good to have you in the live chat. Make sure you get your thoughts in. And if you are pissed off like me, please do leave a like on the video to cheer me up. That'll be very much appreciated. But the bit of news, I'm not sure who actually broke the news. I think it was Laurie Whitwell from The Athletic, and I've seen David Ornstein and Samuel Luckhurst both follow up on the news. So it is coming from a reputable outlet. But also just the tweet here from Samuel Luckhurst reporting on news saying, Man United decided last week to sell James Garner. They value him at between £15 million and £20 million. Both Spurs and Forest have shown their interest. Now, obviously, you can understand the Forest interest. Spurs, we'll get into potential clubs if James Garner is to leave. That'll be very interesting. My start away, I want to get into James Garner a little bit and him as a player. And if he is to leave, some players don't make it at Manchester United. Some players want to forge their own career. I've got no issue with James Garner leaving if that's his decision. My issue here, which has really got to me, is this valuation of James Garner. He was one of the best players in the Championship last season. If we were to go and buy the best player in the Championship, would be spend a 50 or 60 million on James Garner. That's what would happen if he was at Forest or if he was at a club coming up. That's what we would have to pay, and rightly so, in my opinion. I think you do unfortunately have to pay for potential. James Garner has huge potential. Clubs should be paying for that. To sell him for 15 or 20 million, and we talk about, has he sort of proved himself? Has he had his chance? Well, he has. He's gone and done it in the Championship. He has proved himself. Yes, we haven't seen it in a Manchester United shirt, but he has done it at a professional level. So I think he has proved himself. And ultimately, is he going to succeed at Man United? We don't know. But he does need that chance. But for 15 or 20 million, Adam, that has really, I don't know what, it shouldn't affect me, but it has. And I don't understand why. We go back, I was having discussions with a few people. We're talking about when we sold Robin Van Persie, Nani and Raphael for like 3 or 4 million combined. We can't sell players. And James Garner is not one of these players you'd put into that category, who has been put on £250,000 a week and has a valuation of £80 million, so it's impossible to sell. He's a player who's probably on, I say only, I don't know, he's probably on 20 grand a week, 25 grand a week sort of thing, and his valuation is only £15 million. So he's easily sellable. Clubs are obviously interested, and it seems we're just going to, it's not even taking the easy route, it's just sort of disregarding what Manchester United's about, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I looked before the stream started. He's only on £16,000 a week, which compared to our other players in our squad is nothing. McTominay, Fred, our other midfielders, who I think should be gone before Garner, are probably on 10 times that. They're probably on 150 grand a week at least.
Yeah.
I don't understand. He was one of the main reasons why Forest got promoted. I only watched him, I think, maybe once or twice last season, maybe when they versus Arsenal in the FA Cup. And he was one of the best players on the pitch that day. I think he may have even got man of the match. I'm not 100% sure. Can't really remember. But he's obviously been given a chance, but at Forest, not at United. And for us, we need to give him a chance, I think, at United. And our midfield is our weakest part of our team at the moment. I think we're just getting run over every single game in the middle of the park. And he's not given a chance. And I think it's also a bit of bad luck to him as well that he got injured on the preseason, where he obviously can't play when you're injured, didn't get that chance to show himself, and now looks like they're trying to serve him to get some money.
Well, just a few more comments here. Look, I completely agree there, but Hell on Wheels here saying, good evening to you all. Good to see you, mate. If we sell Garner, it's absolutely raving mad, which I completely agree. Elliot here saying, weird choice considering the rumoured academy record rule. Just on in regards to now they're introducing new rules all the time, and there's obviously the homegrown quota. And obviously, look, Man United, especially with 9 subs now, is never in sort of doubt of or never in danger of losing that academy record of a player in the matchday squad that's gone back since the 1930s, especially with a manager like Erik ten Hag in charge now. I don't think that is ever going to be put in danger anytime soon. So, okay, it's nothing really to do with selling James Garner, but you do want to have these players in and around the club and involved. However, just in regards to, we want James Garner as a footballer in the team because he's a good footballer over potentially other players who are taking that position at the moment. But the club not really thinking this through. Now, I don't want to get in a Brexit debate in regards to a lot of those politics sort of go over my head. However, in regards to the impact Brexit will eventually have on the English Premier League and sort of the ability to sign foreign players, the ability to sort of, have academy products, have homegrown players in your squad, the clubs sort of overlooking the potential ramifications this deal will have to make a few bucks to sort of sell a player to, okay, if he wants to go. But in terms of having Man United's best interests at heart, are we potentially, or not we, but is the club potentially missing a trick on this one and not sort of seeing the bigger picture around James Garner?
Yeah, I don't think the club is thinking it through enough. Like, we're all about giving the kids a chance playing our youth. Look at the class of 92. For example, look how they turned out. I'm not saying James Garner is going to be as good as the players who are in the class of 92, but I don't understand why we aren't giving him a chance. We're willing to go and spend up to 20 mil on Rabiot now, which seems like this Garner sale, if it does go through, is going to fund that. But again, Rabiot wants about £200,000 a week, apparently. Garner's on 16,000.
This was my next point. This was my next point. There's a few comments I want to get to in the chat, but you bring up Rabiot there. And that is, I'm one of the players. I'm one of the people who actually is not the player. Now I can talk about the deal and how we come into the situation where we're looking at Rabiot. I can look at that, but I'm one of the very few who actually doesn't hate the deal of Rabiot in terms of bringing him in as a footballer. I actually quite like him. I know that's not a sort of popular opinion at the moment. I think he's a good footballer, especially, and here I am as a fan of Scott McTominay. I think he's double a player of Scott McTominay. So I'm in a very sort of weird category there. However, my issue here, if this funds the Rabiot deal, now how can Manchester United be funding a £15 million deal by selling one of your best assets? I can't get my head around that. But if that is the case, that's criminal in my opinion. If Rabiot has come in and sort of fight with James Garner, okay, if Rabiot proves to be better than James Garner, okay, James Garner wasn't good enough. That is life at Manchester United. You look at our midfield situation, you talk about it being a weak point. It was a weak point last year, and we let Nemanja Matic and Paul Pogba go. We haven't replaced them yet. So a lot of people are now saying, okay, we want to keep James Garner. Let's sell Fred. Let's sell McTominay. James Garner should be there. While I'm agreeing James Garner should be given the chance over those two at the moment, I'm still not saying sell Fred or McTominay. We still need to bring players in regardless of who stays and who goes. We need players coming in even if everyone stays. I'm just thinking if this is actually to fund the Rabiot deal, which I can't get my head around, but a lot of things I can't get my head around at the club at the moment, Adam, that concerns me beyond belief. Do you think that Manchester United is actually looking at funds and balancing the books and thinking, in terms of a game of FIFA or Football Manager, saying, okay, if we sell this player for 15 million, okay, we can buy this player for 15 million? Or is that a little bit naive in thinking?
I think it could be a little like that, but I don't think we're at the point where we can be selling players. Our squad is so thin, it's ridiculous. If you look at our attack, I know Garner's attack is obviously a midfielder. Look at our attacking options who were on the bench the other day. I know Martial was injured. Alanga and Garnacho. Garnacho is 17, 18. Alanga is still very raw. He's not someone who should be playing week in, week out for United. But I don't think we've got 2 midfielders, haven't replaced any. So why are we saying another one to bring in one? It makes zero sense to me at all. I don't understand. And also, Rabiot's got all these toxic traits about him, brings bad news into the dressing rooms, and then I don't know. I just think that's the last thing we need. But even though I do think Rabiot's a good footballer, I don't think he's going to be a bad signing. But I think there's more behind it. Also, we struggle to sell players. When's the last player we've made a profit on besides Dan James, who was sold to Leeds for like 20, 30 mil? I can't remember any.
Yes, look, it's something obviously Manchester United have had a huge problem since Ed Woodward has sort of been putting together contracts. Vin here saying McFred survives another manager then. Definitely looks the case. Chris saying we roll over selling players. Look at the players we lost last week. Instead of selling, we let the contracts run down. Look, I don't. The debate in regards to contracts, we talk about James Garner being the reason he is such a valuable asset is because of the contract he's on. Now, in terms of being able to sell him, we talk about players being unable to be sold because they're on $200,000 a week, and a club can't afford the £50 million transfer fee plus the wages. So they put in a bid where, okay, we can't pay that transfer fee, so we'll give you $10 million for the player, so we can afford his wages. Now, United obviously in that position say, well, we can't accept that because we're not going to accept a lower transfer fee. James Garner is one player who the buying club can afford his wages, so they can go over the top and they can spend big money on a transfer fee in 50 or 60 million. And suddenly Man United say, oh, don't worry about paying that. No, give us 10 million, give us 15 million. We're willing to accept that. So just on regard, there's one or two more chats I do want to get to. Valuation. Am I over the top? Maybe I'm over the top. Do let me know in the live chat. I think, and maybe it is over the top, but James Garner is a player I do like. I think, yes, he hasn't done it at Manchester United, but he's done it at Forest. I would be saying 50 million. Now, Man United value him at 15, 20 million. Look, at the end of the day, that is a lot of money for a young player, but still, I think he should be up around 45, 50 million. Now, is that over the top, or what would you value him at?
Probably 30, about 30. He's only young. He's only 21. We've got to remember that. He's played, 2 years in the Championship for Forest? But again, that's the reason why I think no, we can't sell anyone else, and we're obviously Garner's need to go because he's the only one of our only players with a reasonable wages he's on. Like Tellers, we couldn't have sold him to Seville because he's on like £90,000 a week. I'm sure if he was on half that, he would have gone. They would have sold him. But I don't know. I think we're at a bad state right now, but I can see this getting worse and worse and worse, unfortunately.
I don't smile out of enjoyment that it's going to get worse, but it's a feeling I do share. There's one or two more points I do want to touch on before we do wrap up, just in regards to the Garner situation. But a comment here from Dom. Good to see you, mate. He's left a bit of a super chat. Do truly appreciate that, mate, and appreciate the support. Saying new to the channel, you're always welcome, mate. Happy to have you here, but been a fan since 1986. When you mentioned that year there, 1986, I just think, okay, it was 2 years before I was born. But in terms of going back and watching highlights, we're talking about midfield and James Garner. Now, he's not a similar player. Actually, kind of a little bit of a similar player, really, when you do watch him at Forest. But Brian Robson, I think he would solve a lot of issues in our midfield now. He'd solve leadership. He'd solve creativity. He's obviously good to get a goal scoring, assists, the bite, the leadership, the tackling, the defensive side of things, the versatility. It would be a lot easier. Supporting Manchester United life would be a lot easier if Brian Robson was dunked into our midfield. But I do appreciate that support, Dom, and welcome to the channel. Helg on Wheels here saying I'd rather sell McTominay than Garner. Look, as a fan of Scott McTominay, it's not selling Scott McTominay for me. It's giving Garner a chance over McTominay. And I think that's what Garner does deserve now, just to sell him out to keep rewarding Scott McTominay or a Fred, whoever you want to look at. I think that is a huge issue, in my opinion. Cobb here, good to see you, mate. If Eric Ten Hag says yes, then list him. They should. If Eric Ten Hag has said yes, list him. Then should we really be asking United to block it? That's an interesting point, and look, a very correct point, Adam, in regards to how has this news come about? How has James Garner's future come about in regards to Eric Ten Hag's thinking? This might be very well. I was very lucky to be in a room with James Garner in Melbourne and asked him a question. Now, the question was along the lines of, where do you see yourself fitting in Manchester United's midfield? And look, he gave a very scripted response back to me. However, we can it's one of those ones, read in the room and sort of judging a person's character. What I took from the answer, okay, fair enough. He's a scripted answer. I can play wherever the manager wants me to. However, what I took from his answer when he's talking to me was he was confident. And it wasn't this confidence. Oh, yeah, no, I believe in my abilities. I've been working hard. I'm training hard. I'm ready. No, I could sense there was a confidence in his voice. He was saying, I can play anywhere. Put me in the team. I'll deliver. And it was a genuine confidence. And Eric Ten Hag, in terms of what we're looking at players, is Scott McTominay an Eric Ten Hag player? A lot of us say no chance. Is James Garner? Yeah, he's definitely someone you could see playing at Ajax. However, he hasn't been used too much. Now, obviously, injury did play a part in pre-season, but he hasn't been used too much under Eric Ten Hag. And now this news has come out that Eric Ten Hag is potentially happy to facilitate this move if someone is to come in. Who's thinking? Is James Garner pushing for this move? Is the club thinking he's a player we can sell because we've had a little bit of interest? Or is Eric Ten Hag saying, look, he's a young player, he's not in my plans, go get some football?
I think it's a bit of both. I think he's at that point now where he needs to play consistent football. And I think he said, if I'm not going to play, sell me. And maybe he's not in Ten Hag's plan. But again, it goes both ways of us Fiends. We always complain that the club signs players we don't want, or keeps players, or signs players the manager doesn't want, or keeps players the manager doesn't want. But now, when it seems like, because of this, I can't remember who it was from, maybe David Ornstein said Ten Hag has approved the sale of Garner to go. Now we're all complaining that he's going to go. So it goes both ways of us. And that's what it is like being a fan. You can't have both. But I don't know. I wouldn't sell him. I don't know. I really don't know anymore.
Yeah, no. It's a good point in regards to this whole thing and a correct narrative in backing the manager. You have to back the manager. When the manager makes a decision we don't like, you have to back that decision, unfortunately. We don't like that. We all want to be happy in everything we see. And look, I'm not saying Eric Ten Hag is forcing James Garner out the door, but if he potentially doesn't see a future, or he's had a chat with him and say, look, I like you in terms of what I need now this season. Unfortunately, you're not going to be the man. If you want to move, you want to move. Maybe that is the thing, and maybe Jimmy Garner's pushing for it. And given the state, here we are. I'm one of the people who agree with Cristiano Ronaldo to say he's not happy. Leave in terms of he deserves better. Maybe Jimmy Garner would say, he probably does deserve better in terms of what he's been dished up at the moment. But he's ultimately a young player who wants to have a career in the game. And some players sort of lose that chance if they stick around too long at Manchester United. So you look at Jadon Sancho, could have stayed at Manchester City, wouldn't have had the career that he's had if he didn't go to Dortmund. So maybe that is something Jimmy Garner has seen. But there's just one or two more comments here. In regards to the valuation we'll talk about earlier, Elliot saying I'd say 30 million, Donny van der Beek was 35 million. Chris here saying 20 million for a player who hasn't made it in the EPL. Yes, played well in the championship, but was he the top player there? Look, I understand my valuation of 50 million is probably a little bit over the top. I think there's a little bit of frustration in there. But in regards to what he did at Nottingham Forest, every time I saw him play, he was the man. He wasn't a young player sort of filling in holes and sort of contributing to the team. He was driving Nottingham Forest forward, and ultimately didn't just drive them forward, drive them into the English Premier League, where they are now. Now, just on that point in regards to Forest, if he is to leave, now I might change my tune in a week and say that's the right thing. At the moment, I'm saying that's completely the wrong thing. In the report says there's interest from Spurs and Nottingham Forest. Do you think Nottingham Forest is just a straight deal? Because obviously, one, he's got the connection with him. He's got Dean Henderson there. He's got Jesse Lingard there, and the clubs know each other. Or could you think actually quite a big move and he goes to Tottenham Hotspur, which would kill me if he went to Tottenham?
I think it'd just be stupid for him to go to Tottenham, because the only reason I think he'd be leaving us is for game time.
Yeah.
If he was getting starting minutes for us, I think he'd stay. He wouldn't be leaving. If you go to Tottenham, you got Basuma in front of you, Højbjerg, Benson, Kerr, and I'm sure they got a few other midfielders. And he's not going to start above them three. Let's be honest. You say that, and I agree, especially a club like Tottenham, however, and maybe even with a manager like Antonio Conte. But let's just throw a big club out there. Now, I'm not going to say Manchester City because that's not going to happen, and he's not walking into Man City's midfield. But let's say a big club like a Man City or Liverpool. He's not going to those clubs. But could a manager actually see something in him where thinking, no, hang on, you are the future. I do, maybe not this year, but I will invest in you because in 2 or 3 years, I think if you can sort of play a bit part role for a year or two, you will be that man for me. Could you see that maybe that being behind Tottenham's thinking in terms of bringing him in? No, only because their manager's Conte. I think all the signings Conte makes is just the signings of what's going to improve them right now, not in the future. As you see him, he doesn't really stick around clubs for long. I think if Tottenham don't make the 4 this season, I think he walks. That's just the type of guy he is, especially doesn't get the right backing from the club. So if it was, for example, if Klopp was signing him or Pep was signing him and they know they're going to be there for a long time and they got all these players like Rodri in their midfield, they got a top midfield and they can bring him into their style, their play style, and then bring him into the starting squad eventually in a couple of years. Tottenham with Conte, no, I can't. But Forest, I think that's where he goes. I think if he leaves, he goes straight back to Forest. No,
Well,
he's
the
the
interesting
manager.
thing here with Forest, and now someone correct me in the live chat, but George here saying United should loan into Forest again, see how he is. 15 million could be a steal for other clubs. My issue with that, which I agree, I think if he's not going to get that football at the moment, that's Eric Ten Hag's decision. Loan him out, bring him back. And the issue, and someone correct me if I'm wrong, going to Forest, I don't think you can loan a player to the same club 2 years in a row, especially from the Championship to the Premier League. I'm not sure that is the case. So if it is a loan to the Premier League, it has to be a different club, or a loan back into the Championship.
I think it's you can't loan 2 players to the same club.
Maybe, yeah.
That's what I think it is.
I could be wrong with it, but sorry, Bitson here saying Garner shouldn't go. He's better in defensive midfield than Fred and McTominay. Look, a lot of people share that opinion. I wouldn't disagree. At the moment, you definitely could see this one. Vin here with his shout. Hope he goes to Dortmund. You could definitely see that happening and tearing up at Dortmund. And James Garner is actually very good. Got a high ceiling. He's done well with all his loans, and all the managers play him. That is the thing where you look at the situation when Manchester United is in a bad state, which we are at the moment. You look when we have bad results over the last couple of years. One thing we all say, we say 2 things. One, I just want to see players. I don't care about the results. I want attacking football and players who give a shit, players who run, players put in a tackle. That could be Hannibal. That could be no one wants to admit it at the moment, but Scott McTominay, players like that. Someone who fights for the badge. The other is play the youth. So when things are bad now, say, okay, get rid of all the superstars, play the academy players, play them. We're at that situation now. We're at rock bottom. We're bottom in the league. It can't get worse. We can't go to 21st in the table. Okay, we might as well just stay in 20th. Now we're putting sort of starting 11s together for the Liverpool preview later this week, which will come out. Make sure you are subscribed. That'll probably be a live show because that'll be a sort of a big preview. I've put James Garner in there. Now, this was before this news. I did this yesterday. I've put, at the moment, the way I'm feeling at the moment, James Garner will start in midfield for me. Now, that was a preferred 11, obviously not a predicted 11, but that is the situation I'm at now where we are at rock bottom. Play the kids. And by kids, I mean James Garner, who isn't a Garnacho or a player like an Ethan Laird, who's gone out to QPR on loan today as well, but is not playing a Garnacho who's not proven in senior football. James Garner has proved he can deal with professional football and dealing with the physicality in the Championship. He's ready, in my opinion. He just needs that chance. And you're never not going to see a player develop into what they potentially can do if they're not given that first chance. And is this on the club? Is this on Eric Ten Hag? Is this on James Garner himself? Is he not performing well in training and Eric Ten Hag say not seeing anything special? Who knows? But just adds to the frustration, Adam, around the club at the moment.
Yeah, it does. I'm at this stage now after these. I know it's only 2 results, but they've been horrible results. Where just try something new. Try one of the young players. The guys have been on the club for. Garner's been here for now, I think, for 13 years or 14 years since he was 7. Let someone have a chance that knows what it is to wear that United badge and knows what it feels like that to go out there. And also look at any player. If they're never given the chance, they're never going to be a professional player. He's got to be given the chance. I don't see the logical thinking behind selling him, but if that's what we're going to do, I don't know.
No, definitely. If there are any sort of parting thoughts in the live chat, do get your comments in just as we start to wrap up and we'll discuss them. But just one topic now, I didn't see this on Twitter. I haven't seen the actual report, but I saw a few people in group chat sort of discussing it amongst themselves. So again, I don't know how reliable this is. Do let me know if you have heard anything. Again, this ties into the Ronaldo discussion. If Ronaldo leaves, okay, that people like that or don't like that. The name I've seen in group chats in the last 20 minutes, Adam, Jamie Vardy. Have you seen that? Now, look, I don't think that's reliable. It can't be reliable. However, it wouldn't shock me. Unfortunately, it wouldn't shock me.
Yeah.
Again, if someone wants to get rid of Ronaldo, good. I'm with you. Get rid of Ronaldo. Get rid of that problem. Get rid of that type of player. Get someone Eric Ten Hag needs. If the replacement is Jamie Vardy, I'll be handcuffing Ronaldo to the dugout. I'll be making sure he doesn't leave. And just your thoughts. 1, have you seen that? And 2, your thoughts on the potential club acting in that way?
Yeah, no, I've seen that. It was someone from the Athletic that tweeted about that with Vardy. That makes no sense to me at all. You saw Ronaldo, you sent him because he's got, or looks like he's bringing toxicity into the dressing room. He's old. Look at Vardy. He's been injury prone last season. He didn't play that much. He's old as well. Like maybe if we signed him 4 years ago, maybe the year after he won the league with Leicester, not now. Makes no
And
sign someone young. Find someone.
if we're talking about leaks as well at Man United in terms of dressing room leaks, the last person you need to be introducing is Rebecca Vardy. Obviously, after her situation with Colleen Rooney, the last thing that dressing room needs is Rebecca Vardy. But just one or two things here before we do wrap up. Elliot here saying, surely we make changes for Liverpool. You definitely have to. Now, again, Erik ten Hag, you can't judge him after one game in terms of how he reacted from Brighton towards that Brentford match. But now after this Brentford match, we can judge him on how he reacts to a disappointing performance and disappointing result. So I'm not looking forward to the Liverpool match, but I'm looking forward to how Erik ten Hag does deal with this week and how he addresses the issues that we did see. Anthony here, classy jersey from Adam. Where was this purchased? That is a good shirt. I've actually got that. It's in. I don't have a frame. I got it signed by Dwight York and Andy Cole years ago, but I've just got no room on my walls to hang it. But it is one of my favourite away kits, that one. Definitely a classic. Chris here saying, I like Vardy, but seriously, we love old strikers, don't we? He definitely goes into the category, even maybe a Ronaldo in terms of his age, Agallo, Cavani, Ibrahimovic. Now, Ibrahimovic was a good signing in my opinion, but it is something that Man United, in terms of, is there something in that in regards to a short-term fix in terms of, you never see Man United go and get a short-term fix at left back or right back. We always do it at the proper end of the pitch where that wins your titles in terms of buying a striker. That's okay. Every position is very important. We're talking about the main position now being a number 6. If we're talking about Harry Maguire captain, no, we need a new centre back. But ultimately, you have the best striker in the league. You're very likely going to win the league if you've got the top goal scorer. We're getting short-term fixes. We're getting 36-year-olds, 37-year-olds, and I'm thinking, surely there's and that's not a diss Ronaldo. I was here celebrating the Cristiano Ronaldo arrival, but at that time, if I threw all the emotion out of it, if the signing made no sense into what Solskjaer was trying to build. But in regards to what the club is doing, they see that striker position. Now, I say the club in terms of this recruitment department, whatever that is, they don't have their sort of finger on the pulse in regards to this striker position. There's no plan there.
No, it doesn't make sense. As you said, we don't go. When do we go out and sign a 32-year-old right back, a 32-year-old left back? It's always up front. Like you said, Ibrahimovic, Cavani. Bring someone young in. Bring Ivan Toney in. Look how good he looked the other night against us. We made Danny Welbeck. Well, to be fair, we made Danny Welbeck look like he was Didier Drogba at Chelsea or something like that. That's how bad we've been. But I don't understand. It's a mess. Why bring in Vardy makes no sense. Makes zero sense at all. There's plenty of strikers out there. Even if it's just for this season, if Ronaldo goes, we don't need to sign someone a big name right now. Even though the striker market's not that good, but there's plenty of players out there. Tammy Abraham, Ivan Toney.
Tammy Abraham is the one. Now, I did see an article in The Athletic. I didn't read the article. However, it was along the lines of potential interest, or it was a piece saying, here are the benefits of Tammy Abraham. I don't know how much interest there is, or even if Roma are willing to sell, or even if Rabiot, why would he want to leave Roma at the moment to come to Manchester United? That would be interesting. George, he's saying, what about Chicharito asking to play for Man United for free? This comment here, one more I wanted to touch on before we do wrap up. Last one. Helgon Wheels here saying, thoughts on Erik ten Hag cancelling the players' day off? Two things. In regards to, there was obviously the story that came out, he made the players run 14 kilometres to make up for the distance that Brentford ran more than Manchester United. Do I buy that story? I think I probably do. I'm a bit sceptical on it in terms of how that, maybe they just ran that and maybe they did double session and maybe they just naturally ran that much throughout the training session, or if they just started doing laps of 14 kilometres. That's very interesting how that came about. But ultimately, Adam, in regards to cancelling a player's day off, players are professionals. They do need rest. That's a huge part of their preparation. You can't run these players into the ground. But ultimately, they are paid far too much money. They aren't working hard enough on the pitch. So ultimately, cancelling a player's day off after a disappointing performance like that, good.
I would have done the same thing. I would have made them run, if they can run 20 kilometres, I would have made them run 20 kilometres after that performance. That was shot. That's the worst thing I've ever seen. That was no.
Was it the worst? I don't disagree, but I've heard people say that, and I was just watching a state of watching all this. Like I was just after the second goal went in, I was, oh my god,
just in disbelief.
So I wasn't really angry when I was watching. I was fuming, but I wasn't watching with too much sort of tactical analysis sort of thing. I was just sort of staring at the TV. So, but some people have said that, and I look back at the Brighton match a couple of months ago, the previous defeat. You look at the City defeat, you look at the Liverpool defeats last year, you look at Watford, and there's been so many, unfortunately. For me, I don't know. The worst performance I've ever seen, in my opinion, was in 2014 against Olympiacos away in Greece. We lost 2-0. For me, that one sticks out for me as a shocking performance. But a lot of people are saying this one against Brentford, and I wouldn't disagree. But you stand by that in saying that's the worst you've seen United? I definitely
Yeah,
don't disagree. I'm not sure.
Or if it's not the worst, it's got to be up
It's
there.
gotta be
4-0.
close.
Like,
Yeah.
you sit there and you're watching it at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, it would have been 3 o'clock for us, and we're down by 4 against Brentford. And then you got people from Europe saying, "Oh, you aren't true fans. You don't go to games." Like, we can drive half an hour down the road to go to games, but it's just a joke. It's got to be up there with the worst. It's
just on paper, you look at it.
it's
Look,
painful.
I know we did lose 4-0 to Brentford, but when you do say they think, Brentford 4-0, that's can't get my head around. But it is the fact that is unfortunately where we are at the club as a club at the moment. Definitely, and as you say, Adam, the worrying thing for me, and maybe the more saddening thing, it could get worse. Now, yes, in league position, it can't get worse at the moment, but I think the mood will get worse, unfortunately, and maybe that is what this club needs. Hopefully not. Well, hopefully there is a quick turnaround, but maybe we do need to hit whatever rock bottom is. I think we're there now, but it potentially could get worse. And my feeling is that it will, even with signings. Rabia, here I am saying Rabia, I think it would be potentially a decent signing, I should say. Frankie de Jong might walk through the door, and I think he's the greatest player on earth. Who knows? It feels like it's going to get worse, and I don't know how I'm going to deal with that because I'm struggling at the moment. But do appreciate everyone's thoughts in the live chat. There's a comment here from George saying, "Boys, I'll believe United are back when we keep teams to 0 goals for consecutive games while we have Maguire and Shaw. We won't progress." Maguire, Shaw, and everyone else who's underperforming, but I completely agree. I think that is a huge thing. We talk about, well, we haven't scored a goal. Looking at the goal of the month competition, has got to be coming up around in a game or two's time. We're going to need someone to put the ball in the back of the net because the own goal is unfortunately leading our race. Hopefully the under-18s or 20 or women's team can have a game and they can enter the competition for goal of the month because we need these goals. We need to start scoring goals. But unfortunately, look at what have we conceded? 6 goals in 2 games.
6.
That's our issue. Okay, yes, we need someone to start dictate and play and sort of scoring goals. Yeah, stop them getting in first.
Well, here's the thing: we've conceded 6 goals, but do you think Maguire's been that bad the past 2 games? It sounds stupid to say. I don't think he's been that bad, but we have conceded 6 goals.
But
so
Maguire and Martinez, I think have actually been, I'd say fine, and not fine as in a compliment, but I'd just say okay, standard. Yes, you look at the results, you think, geez, they've been woeful. I think they've been hard done by, one by David De Gea and obviously the midfield in front of them. And that's not to say they've been fantastic, but in terms of individually, it'll be interesting. Now, I say that I think Rafael Varane's got to come in for Harry Maguire against Liverpool. Will that happen? I think a lot of us do know the answer to that, but that is a discussion we'll have later in the week. So make sure you are subscribed for the content. If there is any more sort of breaking news, we will go live. So make sure you do hit that notification bell. Make sure you do leave a like on the video if you are pissed off that James Garner is potentially going to leave for peanuts. That would definitely cheer us up at the moment. And any parting words, Adam, before we do leave?
One thing about James Garner, what would you think about if we sold him with a buyback option of 50 million?
I never quite know the buyback. Like, look, I know what it is. I don't know my feelings towards it. But you just think, well, just loan him and get him back next year and make a firm decision. I just think it's one of those things that maybe it's. I look at the Paul Pogba situation. Now I know that wasn't a buyback option, but in regards to where it becomes Juventus play, I think you waste 3 or 4 years. I think loan and then make a decision. I think it's one of those ones where if he is to be sold, he's not our player anymore. Go have your career elsewhere. Go have a fantastic career elsewhere. Your career at United's done. That's not to sort of throw shit at James Garner, but maybe it is the right option. Maybe a lot of people do agree with that. At the moment, my feeling is no, I don't like that, but maybe it makes sense. I would be looking if he has to sort of not have a future at Man United this year, I'd be loaning him. But is that what James Garner wants? Is that what Erik ten Hag wants? I'm not sure. That we do need to think of what they want, not just us fans here. But it was supposed to, 36 minutes. It's supposed to be a quick one today. We have gone a little bit over time, but do appreciate everyone's live thoughts in the live chat. Just wanted to vent this frustration because it got to me more than it should. I do hope James Garner stays. I hope Man United, and if he is to leave, sell him for big money. Sell him for what he deserves to go for. Don't sell him to Nottingham Forest or Tottenham for 15 million. That's absolutely criminal in my opinion. Who knows? That very well likely happen. But Chris is saying we had a buyback with Depay. I think Man United probably do sort of to look to include it as much as they can, especially with young players. It definitely makes sense. I just don't know a situation where it's potentially worked. Maybe someone in the comments section after this video can throw it in the comments, not just United related, but somewhere else, where has a buyback clause worked. Maybe there are perfect examples of it. Do let me know in the live chat and the comment section below if you are watching on playback. But as I said, do appreciate everyone's opinions in the live chat. Has been very good. Adam, appreciate it as always, mate, joining us.
No worries, mate. Thanks for having me on.
No, easy. And we'll chat to everyone probably tomorrow or the next day when there's a little bit of news that pisses us off. But until then, we'll chat to you when we chat to you. Cheers.